eating dinner alone materials. I had to get the materials needed to eat dinner alone, as one does. As one does, I had to get the materials, the required materials to eat dinner alone. And that is what is about to occur. So come along. Come along and contribute to my feelings of isolation and ostracization. Where to 4K? There we go. Contribute to my feelings of isolation and ostracization. So, you know, one thing I noticed about the AI summary of one of my recent streams is that the AI put most VR boxing wins in quotations, as if that's an unsubstantiated claim, when that is not an unsubstantiated claim. I would like the AI summary to reflect that the AI summary in a previous stream of mine, I just put about 3 or 4 droppers full, maybe 4 or 5 droppers full on this pasta that I'm eating here. Eating some pasta here, and I put about 4 or 5 droppers full. One thing that I don't like about the previous live stream is the previous Google Gemini summary of one of my last streams. It put most VR boxing wins in quotations, as if that's an unsubstantiated claim, when that is not an unsubstantiated claim. The only valid VR boxing game still to this day, in my opinion, is Thrill of the Fight 2. Okay, that's the only valid VR boxing game still to this day, is Thrill of the Fight 2. And I have the most wins in ranked in Thrill of the Fight 2. So it's not an unsubstantiated claim that I have the most wins. Okay? I don't even believe that there's more servers. Okay? I don't believe that there's more servers than North America in Thrill of the Fight 2. I refuse to believe that. And I have the most wins in Thrill of the Fight 2. But every time I log on to Thrill of the Fight 2, I have the most wins in the North American server. There's only one person that even has a similar amount of wins in the North American server of Thrill of the Fight 2 and ranked. So Google Gemini, the AI summary of one of my last streams, putting most VR boxing wins in quotations as if that's an unsubstantiated claim, is bullshit, because I have the most wins in Thrill of the Fight 2. So another AI hallucination as usual. So the AI couldn't even summarize what I was saying correctly. The AI couldn't even summarize what I was saying correctly because I have the most wins in ranked Thrill of the Fight 2, and people still treat me poorly. People still treat me poorly, even though it is a fact that I have the most wins in Thrill of the Fight 2. Yeah, the AI misunderstood what I said. The AI took me saying even if, like sometimes I say even if, and it took the even if, and it went uh the man in the stream says, even, and it said quote, it did it in quotations as if it was quoting me directly, even if I have the most VR boxing wins, and then it says he believes he will be treated poorly. And it's like, no, I do have the most ranked wins, Google Gemini. I do have the most ranked wins in Thrill of the Fight 2. Okay? And in spite of that, the world still treats me poorly. So it's not speculation, Google Gemini. All right? When you summarize what I'm saying, get it correctly, because it's not even speculation. I do have the most wins in ranked Thrill of the Fight 2, and I still get treated poorly by these humans in spite of it. All right, so we're putting three more droppers on the we're putting three more droppers on the first part of my dinner here. Three more THC tincture dropper. AI slandered me. All right, we put more tinctures on the other half. Yeah, man, the AI is slandering me. In its summary of my talking streams, the AI is straight up slandering me and like misquoting me. Um, but what else is new? Dude, it's like I trust the police even less knowing that they're like using AI. I trust the police and corporations even less knowing that they're using AI for like important shit and that AI suck. And it can't even like understand that I have the most VR boxing wins. And that Thrill of the Fight 2 is the only valid VR boxing game because Mark Diddleberg defunded VR essentially and shifted to uh, bootleg Google glasses. Remember Google lenses? Remember the Google glasses? Mark Dinkelberg is trying to sell you like $300. Mark Diddleberg is trying to sell you like $300 before the lenses. AI augmented reality glasses that are basically Google glasses, but terrible, even more terrible. And he's like defunding VR gaming studios. Mark Diddleberg is like defunding VR gaming studios to make Diddleberg AI glasses instead of funding VR headsets as heavily. But in spite of that, like the AI can't even figure out that Thrill of the Fight 2 is like the only valid VR boxing game and probably ever will be the only valid VR boxing video game that has ranked online matchmaking and that I have the most wins in that. So I'm probably going to be the only human ever that has had the most VR boxing wins, but I'm a pale North American on top of it. And I happened to do that right before Mark Diddleberg defunded AI or VR video game studios in general and shifted the money to Diddleberg AI glasses. And you know, me me having me me having the most VR So me having the most VR boxing wins, even though Mark Dittelberg defunded VR gaming studios, effectively crashing the VR gaming market right after I got the most VR boxing wins. Mark Dittelberg, anyway, me having the most VR boxing wins is actually more of a scientific study of like which demographic is the apex predator. That's the best. That is like the most that is like the closest thing to actual conducted study on which demographic in today's day and age is like the apex predator when it comes to unarmed combat. So you're welcome, and I didn't get anything for doing that, but you're welcome. But that is like the closest thing to like actual scientific study being conducted in a mass scale, and you guys brought that on yourself, down to telling me to play the game in the first place. You guys brought that on yourselves, but like happy to help determine definitively which of the demographics is actually closest to like a silverback gorilla or like a caveman in human form, and that would be my demographic. Now, my demographic has treated me like absolute dog shit my entire life. It's been thankless work participating in the closest thing to like a scientific study being conducted to determine which demographic is the closest to like a caveman or silverback gorilla in human form, and that would be my demographic. Not because my demographic treated me good or gave me a good life or even paid me the standard of living ever a week of my life, but my participation in the global study being conducted on which demographic is the best at unarmed combat, which would be mine, going on in Thrill of the Fight 2, is probably the only time this study is ever going to definitively be conducted in human history, due to the fact that Mark Dittelberg defunded VR gaming right after I conquered VR boxing. So, you're welcome. Happy to help. You know, opportunities like that don't present themselves every day. To give Mark Dittelberg a told you so. You know, and it's not well, I am owed. I'm owed at least one woman offering herself to me as a thank you for having the most VR boxing wins. I mean, really, this just goes to show you that there's absolutely zero patriotism in the United States. Like if a pale North American man accomplishes anything in the United States anymore, zero women offer themselves to that man, and that just shows you that there's zero actual patriotism to be had in the United States and that it's all performative. Like, that just goes to show you that, like, there's not a country here. Like, there's not a country in the United States. This is just literally a song and dance that everyone does, because if a pale North American man does it, they're just going to ignore that it happened at all. And that shows you that there's zero patriotism. And there's not a patriot in the United States that is of the female gender. There's zero patriots in the United States that are of the female gender, because they won't even acknowledge that I accomplished something and that I was born in the United States because I'm pale. Because I'm pale, the United States at all will not acknowledge that I have accomplished something that no one else in the world has. Like, if surely if there were many female patriots in the United States, surely one of them would have offered themselves to me upon finding out that I have the most VR boxing wins in the world. Surely if there were patriotic women in the United States, one of them would have offered themselves to me upon finding out that I have the most VR boxing wins in the world. But because I'm a pale North American man, and because there's zero patriots in the United States that are of the female gender, it hasn't happened. I mean, you can't tell me with a straight face that there is a single female patriot in the United States when I haven't even received way to go or good job or wow, that's awesome or anything like that. Like, I haven't received any congratulatory anything from anyone for having the most VR boxing wins. Okay, I haven't received any type of pat on the back or award or anything for having the most VR boxing wins in the world. I haven't. Nothing. I haven't received any praise anywhere for having the most VR boxing wins in the world. So surely if there were a single female patriot in the United States, this is my new hypothesis off of the data that I've gathered. Surely this is my hypothesis based on the data that I've gathered from the study that I've conducted on my actual apex predator status in the pecking order of the world. I've definitively determined in a scientific manner that I am the apex predator in the world, and with that knowledge I've also determined that surely if there were a single female patriot in the United States, if there were a single one, surely they would have offered themselves to me upon finding out that I have the most VR boxing wins in the world. If they were truly a patriot, and there were truly a patriotic female that was born in the United States, that's been living in the United States for generations, for generations. Surely if there was one female patriot, a single female patriot in the United States, they would offer themselves to me upon finding out that I have the most VR boxing wins in the world. But not one of them has. I'm just saying, if there were a truly patriotic female in the United States, if there were one, there's supposedly many, but if there were one, I don't believe that there's many, because I've struggled to find one that fits the definition of a patriotic female of the United States, because I have accomplished something that no other United States citizen in history has, okay? I am the first United States citizen to ever do what I have done, and surely if there were a single female patriot in the United States, there's supposedly many, but if there were truly one, a single one, because I'm calling shenanigans that there's even a single, I don't believe that there is even a single female patriot in the United States. I call bullshit that there is a single female patriot in the United States. I don't believe that there is one. Because if there was, they would offer themselves to me, because I am the best VR boxer in the world. That's all that should just be what I repeat. That should be my mantra. That should be what I repeat while I'm on stream, because there's really nothing else that needs to be said. That really sums it all up. That really puts a neat bow on it. I don't really need to say anything else other than that on a live stream ever. I should just repeat that every time that I have a live stream on. That's like me face streaming. I should just repeat that if there was actually like one, if there was even one, because there's zero, but if there was even one patriotic female in the, surely they would have offered themselves to me by now. We're supposedly in super conservative land. You know, we're supposedly in super conservative land, Florida, and I just want that to be noted, that this is supposedly like the conservative state. This is supposedly the patriotic conservative state, right? What's it called? Florida. This is supposedly the patriotic conservative state. This is supposedly the free state of Florida, right? This is the free conservative state of Florida, right? Where's the patriotic women that want to offer themselves to me because I'm the best VR boxer in the world? If United States elections are actually real, if United States elections are actually real, and it's to be believed that this is the conservative mecca of the United States, Florida, if this is supposedly the conservative headquarters of the United States, Florida, where's all the patriotic women that want to partake in my phallus because I have the most VR boxing wins? Okay? If this is supposedly the conservative mecca of the United States, Florida, if this is the conservative state of the United States, Florida, then where are all of the patriotic Christian women that want to offer themselves to me because I have the most VR boxing wins? I don't think the United States elections are legitimate. I don't think there's been a legitimate United States election in my lifetime, because if there was, if this was truly the conservative state, if Florida was truly the free conservative mecca that it's publicized as, that it's marketed to the world as, then where are all the patriotic women that want to partake in my phallus because I have the most VR boxing wins? There has not been a single woman in the supposed conservative state of Florida. There's not a single patriotic woman in the state of Florida that wants to offer herself to me because I have the most VR boxing wins, making me the first man in United States history to ever do so. So if this is truly the free conservative state of Florida, where are all of these so-called freedom-loving Republican women when it's time to touch my wiener? Where are they at? I don't believe that there's been a single legitimate election in my lifetime. But yeah, there's never been a legitimate election in my lifetime, because if there was ever a legitimate election that has occurred in the United States, Florida would not be a conservative state. Florida would not be a conservative state if there had ever been a legitimate election in the United States in my lifetime. I call shenanigans on the claim that every election that has occurred in my lifetime has been legitimate, because if Florida was actually a conservative state in any way, shape, or form, then all of the patriotic, freedom-loving women of Florida would have offered themselves to me, because I am the first man in United States history to ever have the most VR boxing wins. So that's another scientific fact that we can garner from the scientific study that I conducted in Thrill of the Fight 2, proving that my demographic is in fact the apex predator in unarmed combat. But furthermore, another hypothesis that I have garnered from the data collected from my scientific study in Thrill of the Fight 2 is that there's never been a legitimate election in the state of Florida in my lifetime, because if this was actually a conservative state in any way, shape, or form, all of these patriotic, freedom-loving women of the state of Florida would have hopped to my doorstep and thrown their panties at me and offered themselves to me, because I'm the first United States man to ever have the most VR boxing wins in the whole goddamn world. Okay, so that's more boxing fact ever proven than every professional boxing promotion ever has in the world. Like that is more of a definitive answer to the question of what country and demographic is the best at boxing than any professional boxing organization ever has conducted. Okay, because I beat like 2,300 people. I've beaten over 2,300 people in VR boxing. So like that's more of a definitive answer as to what demographic and country has the apex predators of fucking boxing. Okay, and sports as a whole. Okay, so I have conducted a scientific study, the likes of which the world has never seen. And if the state of Florida had a single patriotic woman in it, then all of them would have cartwheeled to my doorstep and thrown their panties at me and offered themselves to me. So that's the answer to the question, has Florida ever conducted a legitimate election in my lifetime? And the answer is no. There's not a single conservative or patriotic woman in the state of Florida, and I'm sure there's more women than men in the state of Florida. With how much it costs to live here, with how much it costs to live in the state of Florida, there's damn sure more women than men in the state of Florida, and they're not conservative, and I guarantee you they're not voting conservative. There's not one. There's not even a single. There's not one. There's not uno, no, zero patriotic women in the state of Florida. There's zero patriotic women in the state of Florida. Zero conservative or patriotic women in the state of Florida. Okay, we've conducted a scientific study by me proving definitively that my demographic, born in the country I was born in, is the apex predator amongst people globally, amongst the world. Okay, the apex predator of the world would be my demographic. Okay, I have proven that definitively, that my demographic is the apex predator of the world. Okay, I've definitively proven that. So if it is to be believed, so with that being said, we're supposed to believe that this is the conservative state of the United States. We're supposed to believe that this is the conservative state of the United States, when zero of these so-called patriotic women in the state of Florida have offered me anything. They haven't offered me they have not offered to touch my phallus. They have not offered to marry me. They have not offered to pay my bills. They have not offered to house me. They have not offered to do my laundry. Like nothing, okay? These so-called conservative, patriotic women I haven't even received a fucking congratulations from a single one of these so-called patriotic women of the state of Florida. I have not even received a congratulations. I have not received any form of acknowledgement or validation from a single one of these so-called conservatives in the state of Florida. So where are these patriots at? Where are all these patriots in the state of Florida that are voting conservative? I don't believe they actually exist. I don't believe there's a single actual patriotic conservative in the state of Florida, and I don't believe that a single election that's ever been held in the state of Florida is legitimate. Because if it's to be believed that this is a conservative patriotic state, then why is not a single woman in this conservative patriotic state offered themselves to me, because I am the only United States male that has ever done what I've done. There's not been a male in the United States that has ever done what I have done. And if it is to be believed that this is the conservative state of the United States, then how is that so when zero of these patriotic conservative women in the state of Florida have offered themselves to me? Not one. Not a single one. Zero. Zero. They have not offered to house me, clothe me, feed me, help me survive, touch my phallus, reproduce with me, and this is supposedly the conservative patriotic state. I'm the equivalent of a goddamn Olympic gold medalist. Okay, I'm the equivalent of a goddamn Olympic gold medalist, a fucking professional boxing champion. Okay, I'm the only man in the United States that has ever done what the fuck I've done. And where are these patriotic conservative women at to offer themselves to me? Where are they at? I haven't seen one of them. Do you guys know where they're at? I don't see them anywhere, do you? Do you see the conservative patriotic women anywhere? Are they in the room with us? Are the conservative patriotic women in the room with us? Because they're not in the state of Florida, and your election maps have been lying to you for your entire lifetime. Your election maps have been lying to you for your entire lifetime, because if the so-called patriotic women of the state of Florida are in the room with us, then why are they not offering themselves to me? Because I'm the only man in the United States and world history that's ever done what I've done.